Love is one of those things that we all are seeking, we all desire to experience, receive, even give. What I want to do is I want to share with you the absolute simplest, most practical tools, techniques, things to keep in mind when it comes to how you're going to attract and manifest the love of your life. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD of Metaphysical Science, also ordained minister of Metaphysical Science, author of The Enlightened Shadow and Spiritual, Not Religious, available on Amazon right now and Audible. Love. Love is one of those things that I've spent a lot of time putting my focus and energy on. Somebody who grew up as highly romantic and into the idea of finding my partner, my soulmate, my twin flame, my person. I've come to understand the reality of what that journey is and where it will take you, especially when you're somebody who is spiritual, looking to really achieve a deeper connection with yourself, and by which you connect deeply with the universe. And so what I'm going to share with you is going to be some things that you're going to have to really take ownership of in order to truly attract love into your life. And when I'm talking about love, I'm talking about a power that is so essential. It is such a profound element. It is something that basically we acknowledge as something that governs all existence in life. When we go down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out sciences and understand the deeper meaning of things, what we often find is we come down to this word, love. But many of us like to categorize love as this one thing, as this experience between two people where they feel so deeply connected and intertwined that they don't even want to experience life without one another. And in fact, we start this journey off with thinking that we are not complete until we find that person. And I was one of those people as well. But I want to share with you, it's actually very different. When you think about the spiritual aspects of love, you first have to go within. Just like anything when it comes to this spiritual journey, it is about going within first. Because your internal reality, your internal dialogue, your internal emotions, feelings will always reflect and project itself outwardly. So with that being said, when it comes to attracting love, you must first start with loving yourself. And I know that sounds cliche. And trust me, as I go down this list of things, it's going to get a lot better. But this is the groundwork. This is the first pillar, right? That just happens to be the thing that, yes, though it's cliche, it is cliche because there is truth to it, right? There is evidence of this. There is an experience that has been had throughout countless experiences with people, countless generations, thousands of years, maybe even from the very beginning of time. So when you think about this cliche that you must start within, right? Inner love is what is going to actually attract you or attract someone to you, is something that you must take seriously. Okay? You attract what you are. Simple as that. Somebody who is, feeling like they want something and they desire something and they're aligned with that something, they're not going to attract something else. In fact, they're not even going to see it. It's not even going to be in their reality. It can be right there in front of their face from your perspective, but if their frequency, if their mind, if their focus is on something else, that thing will not exist to them. So you have to acknowledge that when it comes to love, you must be the same frequency of that which you desire. Now, when you fully take ownership of loving yourself, accepting yourself, right? You radiate that frequency. and it naturally pulls in love from others. When you are truly in love with yourself, first off, there's almost nothing that is better than that. I always say the best relationship you can have and you will have is the one with yourself. Why is that? Because that sets the tone for every other relationship afterwards. When you love yourself, then you also have the capability, the power, the bandwidth to actually love others authentically, unconditionally. So be mindful that you must love yourself. What does that look like? That looks like, instead of looking in the mirror and critiquing the things that you don't like about yourself, criticizing yourself, feeling shame, guilt, feeling, a sense of embarrassment maybe, take time to identify the fact that it is special. That thing that you don't like about yourself, that it is special, that it is unique, that in fact, even ask yourself or give yourself a understanding of the possibility that this very thing that you find to be embarrassing or not perfect or something that you wish you can change, but you can't, plant a seed within yourself, a question. Is this thing that I don't like actually a gift? Is it actually beneficial? Is it actually a thing that makes me special, unique? Is it actually a superpower? Could it be? Just simply ask yourself that question every time you see that thing. Now, what will happen is eventually you'll get to the point where the brain will begin to start reprogramming itself and opening itself up to the possibility that this thing is actually a beautiful thing, not something that you have to find ugly or, something you have to define as fat or awkward. Okay. But rather something that you are open to when it comes to recognizing that is who you are. That is an expression of who you are. Okay. Now, once you go down that understanding, then acceptance becomes a big part of this journey. You have to accept yourself. Can you imagine this idea of attracting somebody who loves you unconditionally? Meanwhile, you don't love yourself unconditionally. Doesn't make sense. If that were to, in fact, happen, which it does, there will constantly be a bumping of heads when it comes to communicating, when it comes to expressing love, when it comes to affection. Because in your mind, you will be ashamed of this thing. Meanwhile, the person whom loves you will be proud. And so there will be constant, conflict. And it may not be, abrupt, loud conflict, but there will be a disconnect of expressing and receiving love. They will want to love those aspects of who you are. Meanwhile, you will resist that love because you are ashamed. So you must be in acceptance and in love with yourself. And recognize that even if there is something that maybe you can change, maybe it is something like weight, right? If you feel like you're overweight and you have parts of your body that you feel like you want to, change, and you can do so with fitness and diet, then accept who you are as you are at the moment. But that will also give you a sense of confidence in changing that in the right way. Rather than a quick fix, say a surgery or, some pharmaceutical drugs or what have you. So understand that self-acceptance, self-love is the most important aspect of receiving and attracting love. Okay. The next thing you want to do is you want to stop seeking. Stop, instead of chasing love, you really want to be mindful about being love. You want to be mindful about expressing it, right? Being that which you wish to attract. So even when you engage with strangers, when you're out in the street, when you're driving in your car, be that. Express love to every individual around you. Remember, we are all extensions of ourselves. They are extensions of you. So though you may look at them and recognize that they are an individual, yes, they are, but also it is very important to recognize that they are an expression of yourself. So how you see them is ultimately a reflection of how you see yourself. So send love out into every aspect of your experience in your world. Guess what? That world, that universe will reflect love back to you. It will reciprocate that love back to you. So be loving, be kind, be open-hearted in every day, every aspect, every exchange. You don't need to chase in a sense of looking for every exchange and opportunity as like a possibility that, oh, this is my person, this is my soulmate. You want to actually just give out the love that you are seeking to receive. Okay. Now you're doing so. The tricky thing is you're doing so not because you want to receive love, not as an exchange, but simply as an acknowledgement that you giving out this love is a form of you giving your own self-love. Because on a spiritual, level, you recognize that the outside world is an expression of your internal world. That all that you see, hear, touch, experience is a manifestation of yourself and your consciousness and your mind, your conscious mind, subconscious mind, unconscious, etc. So you have to express that out. You have to give that love out. And what will happen is people will recognize you as a loving and beautiful person. And that can come about you actually meeting and attracting somebody who recognizes that beauty, recognizes that divinity within you, and therefore they are attracted to you. And then they can reciprocate and give that love back to you. All right. The next thing you want to do is to heal, right? You got to heal. You got to get into the work. You got to heal any blocks of self-love. So we talked about this before when it comes to how you look at yourself, right? Your own self-image. But that goes further into, past wounds, okay? Limiting belief system, negative self-talk, recognizing the pattern or the root cause of why you may be resistant toward truly loving yourself and accepting yourself. Because, these barriers are fully going to allow you, when you break them down, they're going to allow you to experience flow, to experience a state of being love without resistance, without any hurdles, without any walls or obstacles. So it is okay to go through this process of giving out love. But then when you start to recognize maybe certain biases, prejudices, you start to notice judgment, right? In places where you feel like you can give love unconditionally to this person or this kind of person or in this place versus in other places, you feel like it's different. Be mindful and practice that self-awareness. Once you do that, that gives you an opportunity to say, okay, there's a block here. Why am I not able to give love here like I was here? That will send you down the journey of recognizing past wounds, trauma, limiting beliefs, biases, prejudices. Even when you get into how you speak, speaking is a very clear and simple way to identify, right, limiting belief systems. So things like, well, I'll try. Things like, I don't know. Things like, this is not possible, or I can do it, but you can, right? Things like that stop you before you even build up any kind of momentum. Recognize that as a divine being, as an individual spark of that which we call God. If there is nothing God cannot do, then there is nothing you cannot do. Okay. So, and if you are in a space where you can imagine something, you can see it in your mind's eye, then you can absolutely materialize it in this physical reality. So continue to think about this concept. Okay. But recognizing the wounds, the blocks is going to free you up to express that love, but also receive the love, because that's what we're talking about. We're really talking about attracting love and somebody who loves you into your life. And so you have to be at a space where you don't have any walls up in order for you to do that. Okay. Set a standard of self-respect. That's a big one, because many times what will happen is, because people are chasing love rather than being love, they are willing to lower their boundaries, their standards of self-respect in order to get love, right? In order to receive this idea of love that might be linked to the blocks of self-love. For example, you may attract somebody, right, who is attractive, beautiful, successful, but yet they speak to you with disrespect. They don't speak to you from a place of love, compassion, and empathy. You may find that because they've, quote unquote, checked all the other boxes, you feel like, okay, you can tolerate that, but that is unacceptable, right? So do not lower your standard of self-respect, respect, of love, of compassion, of empathy, okay, of romance. Recognize that what you want, what you desire in a person, what you are actually being in a person is what you should be expecting, so to speak. Okay. You should not lower your vibration or frequency just because you feel desperate, just because you feel like this person is close. You have to recognize that though this person is close, that doesn't mean you're supposed to accept them and settle. What that means is your frequency is getting closer. What that means is you are getting more in alignment with attracting the perfect kind of love that you desire. So take that as a sign to keep moving, to keep pressing, to keep evolving, to keep coming into your true self. That isn't a sign for you to say, well, this is the universe is not saying, well, this is the best we got. Sorry. Okay. That is not the universe's reality perspective. There is no limiting beliefs when it comes to the universe. That is only a projection of your own self. So if you in your mind has not come to a place of respecting, honoring the desire that you have and understanding that, hey, though this person is amazing, they do not fit and resonate with what it is that I am projecting and putting out into the universe. They do not match my frequency. Okay. And then you simply acknowledge, respect them, but then you continue on your journey to find that match for you if you choose to do so. But I recommend you do choose to do so, because eventually that relationship and the things where they are lacking will eventually consume you and the relationship. Okay. It will, in fact, lower your frequency, because when two people are together, okay, when two forks are rang, okay, they can be different frequencies in the beginning, but eventually they will match frequencies. So you have to be understanding of the fact that if you are on a higher frequency, then you do not want to lower your frequency. You do not want to lower your standards. You want to make sure your frequency is that or elevated to a higher frequency. Okay. And that is highly possible and likely when you are committed to a particular kind of relationship and you accept nothing else, and you are hard and stern on that, then guess what? The universe will match that and more, because you're coming from a place of faith, deep connection, and understanding of self. Now, the final thing is let love flow without force. Okay. Real love doesn't come from effort or pressure. Okay. Love is like water. Okay. It's very passive, but it's extremely powerful. It's the most powerful element there is. So you want to understand the flow of water. Though water, it can move around a rock over a consistent amount of time, that rock will eventually be moved by that water. Okay. So it flows when you're in alignment with it. When you're in alignment with your true self. That is the essence of love. So when you recognize your true self, You accept your true self, right? You get rid of any of the blocks. You acknowledge those limiting beliefs. You make sure you hold fast to your standard of self-respect, love, and compassion. Then, right, you let go without any like expectation. You're not desperate. That's not what this is about. You're more in tune with loving yourself than you are with someone loving you. And what happens is you gain such a deep relationship with yourself that, again, you don't accept, you don't compromise that quality of love and connection with yourself. Okay. You don't accept anything less from somebody else. You are graceful. You are respectful. You are loving in how you even communicate that. But you recognize that it starts here first. How you love yourself is how people are going to love you, because you won't accept anything else. You won't accept anything less. So you trust that love finds you, but only when you are whole within yourself. That's the beauty of it. So you must cultivate loving yourself completely, unconditionally, all the aspects of who you are, the light and the dark, right? The beautiful and the ugly, the good and the bad. Remember that it's not about you separating aspects of yourself and saying, well, I like this part, but I don't like this part. That's a disconnection. You must acknowledge that this part that you do love about yourself is deeply connected with the aspect that you do not, quote unquote, love about yourself. They're connected. And so when you own the fact that the part of you that you don't love about yourself is in fact feeding the beauty that you do love within yourself, you start to see that aspect of yourself differently. Then you start to recognize, wait a minute, all of me is beautiful. All of me is amazing. And yes, you can still acknowledge that there is a progress. There is growth that you desire. There is transformation that you are seeking and moving toward. That doesn't mean you just stay stagnant and say, oh, well, I love myself. Then that means I'm not going to change. No, change is inevitable. That is the part of life. Without change, there is only death. Okay. And even in death, there is still change. So be mindful that change is good. Transformation is a must. Okay. Now, as you begin to recognize this and love yourself, love all that is, because that is an expression of yourself, then you will not only feel more fulfilled within yourself, but your standards, your vibration, your frequency of love will only match you coming from this outside reality that you have created. So that is how you attract the love that you want, by being the love that you want. Okay. And I'm not trying to trick you and say, oh, don't worry about experiencing love from another person. No, that is beautiful. But what I'm saying is the best way to have that experience is to be authentic and in love with yourself. There is nothing more beautiful than a person whom is authentically in love with themselves, accept themselves, confident within themselves, because you recognize that that's the kind of person that can actually receive the love that I am capable and desiring to give them. But somebody who has insecurities, they have blocks, they have limiting beliefs, then those blocks are also going to block the love that I wish to give them. So you have to recognize yourself in the other person's perspective. I'm sure you probably been through and with somebody who was highly insecure, feeling like they are just not capable. Okay. And you saw within them their capacity, their potential, but they could not receive it because they were still stuck and blocked. You don't want to be that person. So be the person that recognizes your own beauty, your own divinity, accept yourself as who you are, allow for the evolution and transformation of yourself. And when you do that, trust me when I tell you, the right person will come along and love you as you are and be proud of you and accept you and take this journey of life alongside you. Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, and get access to this free ebook and so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.